Great morning, world. This is your boy Dragon coming at you with another Rise Up with Dragon. Um, very excited about this day. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open a little bit differently. So, what I like to do is I like to come in being as uncomfortable as possible. So, that's what I'm doing today because I'm exhausted. I came off of a big trip to Atlanta, very positive trip to Atlanta, but at the same time, exhausted and probably don't have my wits about me to do a full scale rise up, but I did it anyway because you know how I rock it. So today is called Indeterminate, and I think it's really cool, and I think it lends right to what it was that I was just introing with. But I want to welcome everybody to what I call the playing field of your consciousness, the eye of the storm. And I want to remind everybody that this podcast's intention is to remove the blindfolds from your program mind so that you can gain access to higher levels of consciousness and tap into your true great potential. How do we do this? We do this with our 10-minute deep thought podcast format, our straight to the punch 10-minute or so, because you know how it goes sometimes, podcast format, weekly blog called The Dragon's Lair, one from the vault, as well as our upcoming online courses and books. So, my friends, I want to welcome you to another Rise Up with Dragon.
Great morning, world! Welcome to the Rise Up with Dragon podcast with your host, Dragon!
Get into the float state with Calmer Mind meditations and gear.
So, proof of my partly scrambled brain. So this would be a nice challenge. Is changing all of the way I do my intro. So, but I want to show you something, and that's what I want to share with you. Is I have this anchor that I do, and this is part of my dragon thoughts, I guess, before I start my rise up. I have this anchor, and it kind of falls under this platform of if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I think everybody understands that, but I think it's a little bit challenging for people sometimes. People say, "Yeah, I understand that," but my problem is to change the way I look at things. So you can do it hypothetically in thought, or you could have an anchor like these glasses that I have here. I call them my make sense glasses. People see me wearing them all the time, and I would assume they think that there's some sort of prescription. And I guess they kind of are, but they're a prescription for clarity, right? So they actually say make sense on them. A lot of people write in and ask me about them, and I send you. I have these dragon hats, and I also have the glasses. So a couple of lucky people get those. And I was just in Atlanta with like 13,000 people at this event that I was involved in. And, I saw some people wearing my hats and the glasses and stuff, and it's so cool. So anyway, what I'm going to do now and this is for your benefit, but also mine, is I put the glasses on, and what you can't see because you're not wearing them is that all of a sudden, because of that anchor, everything makes sense to me. I gain clarity. I get refocused on where I want to go, what the intention is of the day to be in service. How can I help and all that stuff. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I don't know how you do it. If you want a pair of the Make Sense glasses, you can write to me, reach out to me through different platforms, but that's how I do it. And it's really amazing because as soon as you put these glasses on, something is just a switch flips in my brain, and all of a sudden I reclaim control of this fantasy, and that's what I think it is. I think this is all a fantasy, because we actually can change the way we look at things, and then all of a sudden everything changes. But the only way you can do that, the only way that these glasses work, is you first have to be open to possibilities. I've been talking to a lot of people because of these recent interview with Rizwan Virk and all of the talk that I, share with you guys about the simulation, hypothesis. Oh my God, my kids love to battle me on that. But what I love about things like that, and just this idea that this is all not real, right? What I love about that is it can't be proven that it's not. So just from an open space, that's where you gain the ability to change the way you look at things. You can't just say you're going to do it. You can't just put the glasses on. You have to be open to the possibilities of greatness. So that's what this podcast is all about, if you listen to the intro. So I want to welcome you to, it should be fairly short, but just a really, really cool concept that'll help you take some blinders off. And my intention today is that you just grow into this space of becoming a possibility thinker. And I think that's the true value of this particular Rise Up. Oh, look at that. My boy, Mark Savant, co-host of NFTs Made Simple. I just went into the comments and I see some of you guys commenting. Big shout out to Mark Savant, unbelievable friend and amazing co-host of our other podcast, NFTs Made Simple. So let's talk about this concept. Let's go down the rabbit hole with the dragon hole. The word is indeterminate. So I got this quote. This is a really cool quote. You might want to write this down because it'll carry you through the day. So I found this quote today and it says, I want to support the view that the very foundation of reality itself is a unified, indeterminate maze of possibilities. Now, before I get into it, think about what that means today. The very foundation of reality, whatever it is that you call reality, it's a unified and indeterminate maze of possibilities. So what that means is, before you determine what reality is, before it's anything, it's just a maze of indeterminate possibilities. So as I was, kind of going through this possibility of, not knowing, I love that space, but before I decide what is, right, which is when I first put the glasses on and I look and I don't know, I just find that fascinating. So let's get into it. So it's fascinating to look at the fact that before we observe something, this is the space, this is the eye of the storm as well. This is that concept that I teach in my book and I in my talks about cognitively distancing yourself from something, the stimulus, the thing that you see. Distance yourself from it and don't call it something first. That space before is where there's an unlimited maze of possibilities. So it's fascinating to look at the fact that before we observe something and create our assessment and perception of it, that something possesses multiple outcomes at the same time. And this is really, really, deeply, deeply looked at and proven in quantum physics. And I'll share some of that. So this is called indeterminancy, the idea that things are multiple potential possibilities and outcomes before you make the observation of it, right? That's what I love about waking up in the morning and just not knowing and not labeling and not calling something. So this is called indeterminancy, and it's studied and recognizes in great depth in the realm of quantum physics. So here's something really, really cool, and you can look this up. So there's a great research experiment called the Schrodinger cat, where a scenario is proposed that there's this cat that's placed in a box, right? You can't see the cat. And the cat in the box that you can't see, you're told this, has a lever in that box that can trigger a radioactive impulse that would kill it immediately. So that's the scenario, right? You're looking at this box, but because you've been told, this is the experiment, that there's a cat in it, and the cat has access to this lever. And if it flips that switch of the lever, it elicits a radioactive impulse and immediately kills the cat. So because the cat is in the box and out of your observation, and you're asked, is the cat alive or dead? We don't know if the cat is alive or dead, right? So that's the experiment. They say, is the cat alive or dead? So you don't know. So when asked if it's alive or dead, you assume, your logic and your rationale, and this is a great way to look at life, like this study. You look at it and you assume it's 50-50, right? Or you maybe come up with some sort of self-generalized theory. Like you say, well, I know cats and cats are fidgety and they might do it. But realistically, you don't know, right? So you come up with some sort of 50-50, it's either alive or dead. I don't know. So like the study of quantum superposition and entanglement, where we learn that a wave particle, this is really cool. I'll make it easy for you. Learn that wave particles can exist in multiple places and as multiple things until we observe them, reminds us that until we look in the box, And I'll get back to that wave particle thing. Till we look in the box, the cat is both alive and dead. Unlimited possibilities, right? Two outcomes before you call it something. So, the study of waves and particles, there's this famous study called the double slit experiment, which basically, waves and particles go through this double split or double slit. And only after you can look at it and determine if it's a wave or a particle. But before it goes through the double slit, what they identify is it's both a wave and a particle. You don't know until it goes through, right? So they do these studies called delayed observation. So you know what delayed observation is? That's what cognitive distancing is. So if somebody comes up to me, or if I make a perception of something, I look out the window or something happens, some sort of stimulus, but I distance myself from it. I enter the eye of the storm. I don't create a perception of it yet, right? Before I create the perception of it, just like the waves and the particles, or just like the 50-50-ness of the cat, there's unlimited potential. So what I want you to entertain today is you might have woken up and made an observation and perception of your day before you actually should have, right? So if you wake up in the morning and you put your feet on the bed and you go through some sort of a morning structure, and that's what I teach people, the truth is the day is both good and bad. As a matter of fact, throughout the day, you'll notice that it is good and bad. You label it based on what you see, but unlimited possibilities and potential. The reason why that's important is because if you don't go right ahead and label the day, now it would also be foolish for you to just label it as good. You might be like an eternal optimist and say everything is great, but accept both, right? That's why I like to wear my Embrace the Suck shirt. It's both great and bad, and there's nothing wrong with it. But that's the way I live. That's the way I've learned to live. People say, Dragon, how are you? And I say, it's all good, right? Because I embrace it all. But I think that we too quickly label things rather than let them be multiple things until you actually know what they are. So that's the gift for today. So like the study of quantum superposition and entanglement, like I said that, I won't get into that. The cat is both alive and dead at the same time. And that's called potential, unlimited potential. So this is where indeterminancy comes into play. While we are in a state of indeterminancy, it's a great place to be. I love when people ask me questions and I say, I don't know. I'm not sure at this time. Those are three great words to put at the end of a sentence. Like you could also say, this is what I think at this time, which also opens the potential that it might change because you don't know, right? So both outcomes still exist. Then we observe it and then we perceive it and then poof, we create judgment. So judgment is where the danger is, right? When you buy into something. So what of this day ahead of you have you labeled, right? The day ahead of you while you were asleep, multiple, but as soon as you labeled it, you called it something and you got rid of that unlimited potential. Can you see that the outcome of your day is indeterminate? You don't know how this day is going to go. You don't know the possibilities of this day because they're endless, right? So be careful not to label the day. It's both a good day and a bad day. Then you wake up, you take a look, and the danger is if you take a look through your programmed mind and you view, like they would say, view the future through the lens of the past. That's when you make that you take the indeterminate day and you make it a determinate day. So you see why I put the glasses on. If you go back and watch the beginning of this podcast, I started off discombobulated, right? I changed the way I did it. As a matter of fact, what I didn't tell you is I cut myself shaving and I just got it to stop bleeding right before. But I started the podcast episode today just completely, indeterminate and discombobulated. And I found my groove when I put my glasses on, right? When I changed my focus. Because if I didn't do that, and that's the value of that, I would have called the day something, right? I would have said, oh crap, my mind is not with me today. Today I'm discombobulated. And that might have caused me to retreat, So what if you learn to control how you look at things and learn to control how things looked? That's the lesson for today. And one of the things that I want to encourage you to do is just to recognize that until you call something, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things. And when you are the shot caller, when you make the call of something, I also want to encourage you to recognize that you are you're making that determination. You're taking the indeterminancy of your day and the possibilities out, and you're determining what it is. Most of you with an analytical mind that's been programmed by others, your mother, father, teacher, preacher, right? So you're looking at things and you think that you know what you see, but you've been programmed to see it by others. So the lesson, distance yourself from it, create the space. I call it the eye of the storm, right? Just say that, and that'll distance yourself from it. Put on some glasses like this, use some sort of an anchor. And then what you'll see is at the end of the day, you get to decide what it is that you want it to be, what you see. And that lends into the power of recognizing this all might be a simulation. But I like to know that I have the power, and I use anchors, but I have the power to call this day whatever it is that I want. And the only people that pisses off, if somebody says, "Oh, that's foolish, man," it's foolish for you to think that you can look at what I'm looking at and call it something else. Well, that's because they've bought into it. They've become determinant on that thing. And you know what? There's an argument for both sides. But what I question people is like, which side is working best for you? Which side makes you smile more? Which side helps you enjoy this potential last day of your life with more joy, right? So yeah, I live in a fantasy world, and I encourage you to do the same. So my last is that, my friends, is why a morning routine and process of booting up your computer is so crucial. When my book comes out, or even when my 15 days of discipline, meeting with my assistant today on that, you're gonna learn the morning routine that I use. And it's not just to get your day started and win the day. It's also to reboot your computer and reclaim control, and actually learn how to change the way you look at things so that the things you look at change. Love and appreciate you all. Let's see if I can get the close right today, because I got my glasses on. But have an amazing day, everybody. This is Dragon with another Rise Up.